Let this go on. Let me change my settings on this. Get bothered. Paste this in the chat. And then we're just gonna give it a few more minutes, Steve. So that way people can slowly start coming in, since this is an earlier than usual meetup. It usually happens around 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But due to some scheduling, it had to be readjusted. So it's gonna give us some people to start coming in. Oh, then you should be able to unmute yourself just in case as well too.
Okay, no problem.
Patience. Oh. You will be coming in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, where is the? Oh, I gotta be able to see it. Oh, cool. All right. We'll just get started, and again, as people start coming in, they'll just be joining, and if they happen to miss it, there's always a recording as well too. I'm not sure if you know about it. The recordings do get uploaded to my website, eltonvargas.com, all previous ones, and also on YouTube as well too. Um, that way, just in case anybody always wants to like look at these, they can always go back to them. But welcome to another real estate wholesale analysis. This is part 16 or 17, I believe. We're running for a good almost 2 months now, doing this series about real estate wholesaling in terms of analysis paralysis. And basically what the whole series is about is those who are getting started into like real estate understand like the grasp of how to analyze deals, either for like your own investments or for like wholesaling or buy and holding, because we are could be going through a few examples of real estate wholesaling. And also we're going to be going through examples of some fix and flips and some rental analysis, and how a calculator that I've designed that helped me out along along my progress and process of analyzing deals when I was wholesaling in the beginning about 8 to 9 months ago. It really helped me out just because I was getting stuck, and then still a lot of people get stuck on analysis paralysis. But basically, this whole series is to go and show you how you can expedite the entire process of analysis. Again, it really depends if you're trying to wholesale, fix and flip, or buy and hold. And there's a new one that I'm currently working in terms of creative finance as well too, more in the seller finance section of the creative side. So that's also available on the calculator section, which you can use a coupon code until the end of this month for use coupon code not gatekeeping. And I'll show you through that. So that way you have access to the current calculators and all future ones coming up, which is mainly the seller financing one. But my name is Elton, like Elton John. I've been wholesaling for about 9 months at this point, honestly. And I'm slowly transitioning to becoming my own, an investor, buying and holding properties in other states. I'm in California, Long Beach, California. It's just over here. I don't like a lot of the numbers at all whatsoever. It's just the cap rates are way too low and things are just expensive. So whatever I can spend on down payment over here, I can honestly spend on buying 5 properties in a whole different other state as well too. My previous background, I used to do a lot of sales and marketing, and just that's what real estate is. It's literally just a lot of sales and negotiating. I try to get like the best deal as possible, which is kind of intuitive from previous sales because sales in my previous sectors have been selling a product or a service, but now this type of selling is more of acquisitions where we're acquiring properties, get the contracts on a low price as much as possible. Or if you can get it in a low price, again, there's another thing called seller financing, which is a creative way of getting deals done, which can a lot of buyers actually liking that as well too. But we're not going to jump into that as much. We're just going to be sticking a lot into like wholesaling. So the process of wholesaling is basically there are quite a bulk amount of steps that you do have to take into like wholesaling. My main one is going to be that we're focusing is the repairs and how to bring offers in. Basically, how we're going to be analyzing so that way we can bring the most reasonable offer into like the table. Some states and cities, it just depends on where you are. It is a little bit more challenging on the repair side, but I'm gonna show you guys how to overcome those sections as well too. And through each big section of the process of real estate wholesaling, there are tiny little steps as well too. So these are like the major ones of getting like a deal done, from locating a property to you getting the final check of your deal. But again, this whole series is just mainly on the repairs and bringing offers into the analysis. As we're starting off with analysis, the very first thing that we have to understand is how we're going to be analyzing a property, and that comes down to the very first thing, which is ARV, or after repair value. And basically, what ARV means is if it's outdated, picture like a 1940s, 1950s home that is just looks completely old. It still has like wallpapers. It has like that brown, old looking wood. We're just basically updating the property to look kind of like 2023. And what 2024 actually. My bad. 2024 standards, and what 2024 standards mean is there's like this color scheme of like either green and white, gray and white, black and white color scheme throughout the entire home, indoors and outdoors as well too, where everything is pretty much modernized. So it's just what the property's value is once it gets fully updated. That is what ARV is, and that is the number one thing a lot of investors or just anyone trying to buy any real estate opportunity, is that's the number one thing we have to understand, what the property will be worth if you were to come into it and fully update the property yourself, or if another end buyer is going to be updating the property themselves. When it comes to investors, though, all of them are going to be doing things very differently across the board. If it's 3 investors, you have 5, 10, 50, 100, 1,000 investors that you come across. All of them are going to be doing their numbers very differently. So it's just part of the process. But the more you understand how your investors or your end buyers do things, then you start slowly to like able to categorize them on how some of them will do similar things, some of them will do a little bit slightly things, and that's what I've come across. Which investor number one, investor number two are the two most common ones across the board. And again, then you could have like slightly different ones from time to time, just because again they do their numbers very differently, and of course it varies per state as well too. So if you look in California, if you're looking in Texas, Illinois, Utah, Washington, New York, wherever it is, or whatever state that your market is, it's again, it's going to be very differently across the board whatsoever. But if you ask your end buyer questions of what their strategy is, how do they calculate the numbers, then again, you're getting to build that relationship with them so that way you can understand how they do their things. Now, the next thing when it comes for after repair value is what the property is worth after, but we do need to go through repairs. And I like to break down repairs to the simplest, most standard, and most average route because when it comes to repairs, I can literally bring one property to three investors, and all of them are going to tell me that some of them are going to need thousands of dollars more repairs. Some of them are going to stick to like the average, and then some of them are going to be like, I can get this repairs for actually a lot, $1,000, way more less. So when it comes to repairs, I like to stick to the average. The average, and the reason why is because these average numbers are nationwide, except with some states. Again, some states like California, New York, Florida, Texas, and Washington, and some other little ones as well too. It's not going to be the materials that are expensive. It's just going to be more on the labor side that is going to be very expensive. The materials are going to be slightly different, plus or minus a few dollars or cents on difference. But the major one that where it gets really expensive is the labor. So that's why some investors either they like to go with luxury, so they're gonna find a luxury contractor, and the luxury contractor is gonna make sure that they're again they're running a business, so they're gonna get their profits out of it. But the profits are gonna be larger because again it's more sensitive materials, and materials are more expensive, so they have to take more care of that whatsoever, just because of the type of investor they work with, compared to someone who has deals, has done different deals with the same contractor. Then that's how they're able to bring their expenses down, just because they are already in the agreement where that investor brings a lot of business to that contractor, and they just have the relationship where the numbers can come rather easily, rather than like, oh, let me analyze this, I'll give you back an answer in a few days and let you know how much it is. No, you literally can have buyers on the spot send their contractors to the property that you have under contract, and they'll do analysis and they'll tell you how much, either per bedroom or per square foot, or what each section, how much they're going to be spending into it. So again, when it comes to repairs, stick to these averages. Light repairs are going to be pretty simple: carpet and paint. Think about these more as a rental apartment, where if you're currently renting, if somebody else, once you fully move out, they try to get the apartment back to rent standards, and they're just going to do little touches on the properties, on the apartment. I mean, like change the carpet, and maybe need to repaint maybe some holes that came along the door. When doors get open, there's like little holes in the walls. It's just little things that need to get patched up that are going to be coming into play. A more average repairs is going to be getting now to like those fix and flippers, where they're going to be spending a good amount of money into updating some properties or apartments as well too, depending if they're renting. But these are going to take a little bit more, and there's quite a list of more things to do. There are major ones into the list, which are going to be definitely the kitchen, bathroom, floors, lighting as well too, and of course doing a paint scheme as well too, or even change other things along the way on it. So these are going to be more to the average repairs. And what a gotcha repair is basically a property that is just fully down to like the studs. There's no walls. There's no sometimes there's not even any floors whatsoever as well too. But they're just gonna have like some type of floor plank that you can walk through. But basically think about a property that at least has doors, maybe windows are boarded up as well too, but it's down to like the studs inside. So this is gonna take a full amount of work to bring it back to 2024 standards. But again, it's going to take more time, and it's going to take more labor, and it's going to take more materials to update the home. So the list is going to be bigger in terms of all that. Now, part of the next process, when we're trying to understand how much the property is worth, we're trying to analyze the repairs. Now is we have to find similar properties that sold in that area or that division or the subdivision, or even neighborhood as well too. I like to call it more neighborhood because sometimes there are going to be major roads that where there's heavy traffic into play. And basically what we're looking for is comps. But when we're looking at comparables or comps, then we do have to stick within certain parameters that an appraiser would look into. And those parameters are going to be like this. We want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. We don't want to look for, we don't want to compare a property that is from 1965 to a brand new constructed home that is 2024 built. Those are not apples to apples. You want to make sure that you're comparing within the plus or minus 5 or 10 years on the properties. Make sure that you're sticking within the same square footage of the property. Again, plus or minus 300 over here. More in the lot size. Lot sizes don't really come into play unless you're looking at farm style or properties that have acres of land. Or if you're analyzing land, then that's when you have to analyze more in terms of like square footage. But for example, here in California, in Southern California, a lot of properties don't have major acres into play unless you start driving more into like the desert area. But inside of the urban area, or close to like even downtown LA, the properties are just they don't have a lot of acreage into it. So again, that's where we're not going to be analyzing a lot of lot size in the square foot for that whatsoever. Next, we want to make sure that we're stick within the same neighborhood that I was mentioning, or look within properties within a half mile to a 1 mile radius. And the reason this is because an appraiser, they don't really compare properties from one neighborhood to the other when there's a major road cutting it down in the middle. Just because again, those are going to be two separate neighborhoods, and what those major roads look like, or over here as we look double yellow line roads, is the roads like over here. This is in Long Beach, California. There's heavy traffic in the morning where people are getting to and from to work. In the afternoon where people are getting home from work. There's buses, there's construction trucks, there's like all this traffic all day long on that same road, where appraisers don't compare again one neighborhood on the left side to the other, no matter how similar the property is, same age, same size, same build, same number of levels. Everything is the same. They're not going to be pulling that comp whatsoever, because again, those are two separate neighborhoods or subdivisions as well too, or even sometimes train tracks. Train tracks do come into play sometimes here and there. It just depends on the areas, on how the train tracks are splitting like the neighborhoods as well too. But I like to play it in the worst case scenario, so I like to stay away from train tracks, or even consider train tracks that same thing. That's like my border of I'm not going to be comparing anything on the other side of the train tracks. So that one comes situational as well too. And whenever we're looking for comps, we want to make sure that we're looking for at least 3 to 5 properties that are fully updated, that have again those 2024 standards, or even 2023. Even if it's 2023, you don't have to do all too much about it. It's just as long as it looks brand new and it looks like it's really getting taken care of, then that's what we're really looking for into play. Now, next, what I want to do is we're going to be going through some analysis of some live properties, either on Redfin or Zillow. If you guys do have any questions, just drop the questions in the chat, or you're able to unmute yourselves and then just asking me questions in there if anything doesn't make sense, or if you want me to clarify something along the way. But if you want to reserve the questions, we can reserve the questions until the end of the video or of the presentation or the analysis, so that way I can do a live Q&A. And let me share this section here. All right, let's minimize that. So this is the website I was mentioning to you guys. It's going to be eltonvargas.com. This is where the calculators are available for you guys. Again, you have to use coupon code not gatekeeping until the end of this month. So that way you have both access to the after repair value calculator, which is one of them that we're going to be using right now this exact moment, and also like a rental analyzer one if you're looking into properties of rent. Or again, you got to come across some buyers that are looking into multifamily properties. So you want to make sure that you're able to understand some of the things you have to analyze in terms of those properties that are being rented. Or sometimes you even come across single family homes that are rented, and it's always best to keep it as a rent. just because that's how the property is getting treated, that it's just doing like a full makeup of work. The materials are going to be very different in terms of that, because there's retail work where it just has like a unique style to comparable like a rental property. It's just going to have like lower less expensive materials into play. And again, there's a new one coming up of the seller finance. So once that drops as well too, you also have access to that as well. But today, as for training purposes and education purposes, we're going to be using the spin the wheel. So that way we can do a random city, or as I mentioned in the chat, if you have an address that you want me to comp, by all means, drop the address in the area, in the chat, I mean, and then we'll go from there. And for today's example, was it Philly? It looks like we have Philadelphia for today. So let's head over to, oh man, I can't even spell Philadelphia today. Where's my vocabulary? There you go. Philadelphia. There we are. So right now we're going to be using the ARV calculator. Let me
Mhm.
so the ARV calculator, basically we're going to be filling some basic information about the property. Yes, this is a property that we're looking for, that is on the market. If we were to come across a property that you're marketing to sellers directly, then part of the process is knowing how much the seller wants for like the property. We have to, at all times, every time somebody gives me a price of any property, I always like to question how did they come up with that number. And if they're not willing to give you a number whatsoever, both, or actually all three of them, Redfin, Zillow, also PropWire, which I'm gonna show you guys right now. Let me try to pull it up. Let's see if it so Redfin for this one doesn't show it. Sometimes Zillow does. Let me see for this property in Montgomery. So Zillow always does. They have their what's called their estimate. Usually a lot of sellers that are for sale by owners, meaning that a lot of owners are selling the properties themselves without any agent representation. Then they like to be like, oh, I looked up on Zillow and I found out how much my property is worth. All right, cool. You find out how much a property is worth, but do you know how much other actually properties are selling for in that neighborhood? So again, I always like to question how much the prices do, but where did the price come from? But for example, for this Zillow estimate, Zillow will always majority of the time will have it. Same thing with Redfin, or as I was mentioning right now with PropWire. PropWire, it's a free subscription data analysis where you can type in an address. So let's say, for example, this one that we're looking over here on Montgomery, Alabama. If you were to type in the address in here, same thing, they're going to give you their estimate value of the property. But again, you have to do your due diligence no matter what or how much the estimate is, because again, your goal is to try to get like the lowest price possible. And if there's no room for negotiation, then again, you can do a seller finance or a creative way to get the deal done as well too. So that's again, if there's no one's willing to give the price whatsoever. So we just gotta go based on the estimated values, because part of the process of the calculator is make sure that we have a asking price. And what asking price is, how much does the seller want for the property? So for right now, we're gonna be looking in Philadelphia for some properties. I actually like to set some filters. Looks like we have about 8,000 properties on the market right now in Philadelphia and surrounding cities. But I'm looking for properties that have been sitting for a while. Properties that have been sitting for a while usually are overpriced, or they need a good amount of work, or they've been under contract in the past. And those are a lot of the good red flags that good green flags I'm looking for. The properties that have been in the contract and they get relisted because either there's something wrong with the property. Sometimes a lot of agents tell you, oh, the seller's finance actually fell through, which I honestly think it's a lot of BS, honestly, but everybody has their own opinion to it. But I'm looking for single family homes, and I'm also looking for properties that have been sitting for more than 45 days. And I'm looking for single family homes that are at least 1,000 square feet and higher. And for the year built, I am looking for properties that are nothing built more than 2010. So again, I'm looking for properties that are the older they are, the better it is. And then the way I'm going to be analyzing for repairs is, again, I'm going back to the that list. The more things I'm listing, the now I'm determining into it. A gut job repair, you're able to tell what a gut job repair will be because again, that gut job repair is the home is down to the studs. There is no walls, there's no floors. It's just straight up those wooden beams just holding up the structure of the home. So that's what it's just like the plain structure. I really doubt in Philadelphia that we'll come across something like that. You see a lot of those mainly in Chicago. In Chicago, you'll definitely find them, and they're usually priced around 20 to like $50,000. But you never know. We might come across something like that. So for this, I'm just mainly looking for properties kind of a little bit like this, a little bit outdated, not too bad. This is actually really good conditioning. Uh, I wouldn't touch too much onto it. But let me look. Oh, I didn't adjust this for the property. So let's go with like the highest ones. The properties that have been sitting for a while. You see, sometimes there's a property sitting here for a whole year, 370 days, 350. So some of them are going to be celebrating their birthday coming soon, just sitting on the market. And again, there's multiple reasons that why they might be sitting like on the market. Um, and so this is a good example of like a property that I'm kind of looking into, where as you can see, the outside looks a little bit outdated. I don't know about the inside. Not too bad. A little bit of color scheme, definitely update like the bathrooms. Uh, if this is the kitchen, then I'll definitely gonna take this one. The reason why is kitchen. Again, kitchen, floors, kitchen, bathrooms, those are like the major ones that are that a lot of people spend like the time into. So that's something that I always can look to. And I'm not sure if this is a property that was being rented just because I see that it's a big home. But this is something that I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that it's really outdated. There's a lot of color schemes going on. Um, Also with the flooring, there's like different types of flooring. There's not like one set of flooring, carpet as well too, a little bit all carpet, old railing over here, lighting, paint. Again, it's just updating like on the paint. Sellers don't want to pay 8% interest rates on mortgage. They want a lower fixed interest rate. Yeah, that is true. Well, I mean, it really comes down to like their if they depending on when's the last how their credit score is, so they can get rates or they can buy you're able to buy points as well too, so that way you can bring like your interest rate. So it really depends, but yeah, nobody really wants to pay like 8% nowadays, so it's just sometimes it's really hard for them. But when it comes to like sellers, it's always the number one thing we have to come down to is knowing that they're actually a seller that is motivated on like selling the property. There's a list of like multiple reasons why they want to sell. They need to relocate. They have emergency funds. Maybe their parents pass away and this is their parents' home and they don't want to deal with the property. So it was a property that got inherited. So there's not a thousand. I would say there's at least like 10 different answers on why people need to sell, but what their motivation of selling is and how urgent they need the money or access to that money is what creates a person that you can come negotiate with, and then you're able to come across those deals as well too. So this is a great property for me to like analyze off the bat. Asking price 335. It's been sitting on the market for 269 days. Sometimes I like to read the description of from the agents because sometimes some agents I like to work with them, some of them I don't like to work with them. It's just it's always a pro and con with agents, but the ones that are really good, they always list a few key things into it of that what recently got updated, like the HVAC. Um, it looks like nothing else. Carpet, laminated tile, onto a rooftop solar. Sometimes people are selling because they're in debt as well too. So maybe it's a foreclosure property, or they just like I need to get the cash right away, and maybe I'm downsizing. So there's always like a lot of reasons why people want to sell from here. But my biggest green flag so far is I come across a property that's been sitting on the markets. Also, the property is quite outdated. And I'm just trying again, we're trying to update like the property. So I put myself in a position where I'm thinking that I'm buying like the property for myself. So if I were to invest into this property, if it's a fix and flip, if it's a buy and hold, whatever the strategy is that I want to do with the property is I need to think about it like it's my own property that I'm buying, my own opportunity that I'm putting my hard-earned money into it. So I gotta put like that. And whenever I'm reaching out to like agents or sellers, I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm trying to understand their motivation, their urgency. I could go back to like the motivation, make sure that they actually want to sell the property, and then from there just start negotiating with them on the spot. Try to find similar properties, make sure that it sells. And if there's no room for negotiation, I always recommend that it's always best for you to, if you want more exposure and you want a higher price for your property, put on the market with an agent. So if that's what you want, because a lot of agents are going to help you out with that. But then with the agent, when you're coming across buyers, then that's the thing that you're gonna get even more feedback. So that's a lot. It's always like a negotiation thing, but the main foundations are honestly understanding that the seller wants to sell and why is it that they want to sell and how quickly do they need to have access to selling to that money as well too. Something I'm looking for here in the sale and tax history is again looking if the property has been previously under contract and is back again on the contract and it got relisted again, I mean, and how much money have they how many price drops have they done and when's the last time they did like a price drop? And it looks like from September, just probably because that's usually when the market there's a lot less buyers on the time than right now. Just 5 days ago they did a price drop of 335. So they did about a $40,000 price drop over here. It should have been honestly a lot more, but it looks like they were averaging about $10,000 a month from here on the price drop. So then now let me put in all the information over here. So again, I'm putting if I want to wholesale, of course I want to wholesale like the property, but again, I'm putting my mindset into like, I'm buying this property for myself. How much would I need to get it under contract for? Or how much would an end buyer get it for? So let me start doing the numbers and show you guys how the calculator helps you expedite the process. So they're asking 335. The property is 1972. It is a big home, like I was mentioning, 3320 square feet. I also need to check because we are in Philadelphia. Um, I'm used to like finding properties that have basements. So I don't know if properties over here in Philly have basements whatsoever. I mainly stick to like a lot of the Midwest properties, but let's see here. What kind of foundation am I looking for? And no basement. All right, cool. So there's no basement. Then I'm gonna make sure I take this away because again, sometimes we also have to consider basements. So if I were to buy this for myself, I already have a possible offer of 234,500. That offer is rather reasonable. The reason why it's been sitting for 269 days already on the market. Now going back to like the repairs, going back to the pictures, I'm trying to list what are the things that it needs. Bathroom automatically, floors, paints, kitchen. What else? What else? What else? Let's go through here. Uh, you see, I like the lightings, the skylights that there is in there. Definitely the outside of it. Um, do like a repaint like on the outside. Let me check out some of the windows as well too, but also the roof. I don't know how old that roof looks. I will actually estimate close to like 15, maybe 18 years already. There's not a lot of outside pictures besides these, but they're like these pictures were definitely taken by an iPhone, not a professional camera. So that's another thing as well too. So those are like the four major ones that this property will need. So those are close to like the average repairs that we're looking into. So it is a big home, and especially in Philadelphia, I'm guessing it's definitely going to be expensive out there. So I'm gonna go 35, maybe 30, $36 dollars a square foot, just because I'm guessing it's definitely going to be expensive in Philly. Again, I'm not gonna spend too much time on the repair costs because again, 119. I'm estimating the calculator is estimating 119 thousand $1,000 for the repairs. I bring it to an end buyer. One is going to tell me it needs 150. Somebody else is going to tell me, oh, I can get this for like $80,000. It really comes down to that. You'll trust me, if you're wholesaling into it and you're reaching out to buyers, they're gonna tell you you're gonna come across different buyers like that. Because again, especially in the area, they're gonna come across in a hot city like Philadelphia. For sure, you're gonna get a wide range of numbers. But again, I'm gonna stick to the averages because it's about the possibilities of how much it needs to sell for. Now, again, I'm still putting myself into me purchasing the property. So I'll be paying like the closing costs for both myself and the seller as an incentive. The possible purchase price I need to get to is 234. I need to spend $119,000 in repairs. Again, I'm an investor. Maybe I want to fix and flip this property. So I am thinking in terms of the business. So I make sure that I get my profit. And now my the property needs to resell for $561,200 for me to make my money, do the repairs. Worst case scenario, I need to spend more money into repairs, so probably it's gonna cut some of the profit. And from there, if I can get away with less expenses, then by all means, I'll do so. But this is what the agent is telling me. The agent is telling me that the property is selling for 335,000. I need the $119,000 in repairs. And then if I can get my 15% profit, I need to sell it for this much. Now, if I were to get the property under contract for my asking price of 234 plus the same number of repairs plus my profit, then I need to sell my property for $434,000. So now this is where I have to do my due diligence and then find out what the area is selling for similar properties, apples to apples, for this specific property of how much would it sell? Is it going to sell more on the 560,000 or is it going to sell more on are the properties selling more in the 434,000? So maybe the area might be that good, but again, I still have to do my due diligence. And the way I'm going to be doing my due diligence is check out the area, seeing what kind of neighborhood I'm looking for, seeing what the neighborhood is like as well too. So it looks like we have a middle school, we have some parks as well too. I always like to use Street Viewer because again, I'm looking for those major roads. If you guys go back to the comp parameters, I am not going to be crossing any double yellow line roads. This applies to all 49 states. Alaska, I don't know what kind of roads they have out there. I've never done any comps or analysis in Alaska because I wouldn't invest in Alaska. But that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using Street Viewer to see where the major roads are. And then also try to go back to where my property is. My property is right over here. So I'm going to be looking at this road right here, seeing is this a double yellow line road? Yes, it is a double yellow line road, but it's kind of empty. I'm not sure if this is like the timing of the day or it's like it is sunset. For some reason, it's like 4 or 5. Oh, I'm not sure if it's daylight savings, but um, so it looks like Democrat Road. Yeah, that's funny. Democrat Road is one of those busy roads, and then I'm gonna take a guess that this Poplar is it Broad. Broad Street over here. See, I was one off. Here we go. There's another major road, Broad Street. You have a lot of cars, people bicycling, and so this is going to be another kind of again that borderline where I'm not going to be going across any comps around this area. So I'm just trying I'm trying to close my neighborhood on where things are. Um, See how many homes have sold that particular street and this. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna be looking for. So that's what I need to go for right now. Again, I always like to go through like the streets first, so that way I can understand where how the neighborhood is, because I want to understand where those borderlines are crossing into play. And then I'm looking into Gibbstown. Looks like Gibbstown, it's somewhere over here. Where is Gibbstown? And this is what sucks about Redfin sometimes. Philly. Okay, close to the other bridge. All right, so our subject property is going to be right over here, that 335. So now I'm going to be setting the filters for recently sold properties. So I'm looking for properties that sold in the last 6 to 9 months in terms of like wholesaling. Let me reset all these filters. I am looking for a property that it's a home. The square footage of my home was 3,000 square feet. So again, plus or minus 300. So 3,000 all the way up to, let's see, Redfin doesn't have 3,600. So I'm gonna go, I can only go with 64. And let me go for recently sold, 6 months. And looks like there's no properties sold in this area. So again, that's an example of not every home is a deal because there's no activity happening whatsoever. These are the filters that I have to go based on my property. Plus or minus 300. Make sure that it sticks within the same year, 1972. Um, I can set the filters for that, but even just setting the filters for it, there are zero results on this neighborhood whatsoever. Maybe in the last year, something sold. Last 2 years, nothing sold since who knows when this transaction happened, and it sold for $310,000. So again, this is a property that you can definitely get away with it. But again, if you were to bring this to an end buyer, how expensive is it going to be for the end buyer to come in and fix this property? It's a high risk opportunity for the end buyer to come across to come in into like this area and just definitely take advantage of uh, where's the home? Oh, right here. So this is the home right over here, but it looks like it's what is it? A rectory. Oh, okay. And so maybe that's why too. So it's not even like a regular home, it's a rectory, and whatever that means. Apologies for the make sure to tune this. I missed much already. It's okay. The recordings are available. Um, but yeah, so it looks like this is a property that sometimes you can get away with the price, or you can negotiate the hell out of it. But because it has an agent, I will even ask the agent, well, how did they come up with the pricing, and also what kind of comps do you have? Because I'm a fix and flipper. I'm looking to invest into it into this area, into Gibbstown. And how much would the property resell if I were to come in and fully update it? Especially listed with an agent, they'll give you some feedback. I mean, they will give you some comps, but again, I already found some comps and I actually found zero comps into play. So I can definitely get away with getting that low ball offer, especially for like sitting that long and no history of being under contract either. So this is opportunity, but it's a high risk opportunity just because there's just nothing happening in the area. So a big strategy that I like to do when I come across cases like that is I like to reverse wholesale into this. So that way I can understand where buyers are coming into play. So what I like to do is instead of looking for properties that recently sold and just looking for random locations, I actually like to go and find out where there's activity happening. Again, where there's activity happening, think about it like a business where if you have a couple of restaurants, you have a restaurant in one town, you have another restaurant in another town, they're like 10 minutes apart, and a lot of the people live like 10 minutes away from both restaurants, so they're like in the middle. Then or then from there the homeowners they would go to like the most popular restaurant. Let's say the most popular restaurant is the one heading south, 10 minutes away from where they currently live. Most of the people are going to be heading over to that one. While the other one, it's like a low traffic, kind of like an old school restaurant. So again, I'm looking where the traffic is. So this is how I like to do and use reverse wholesaling into play so I can find out where other buyers are coming in. And again, I'm gonna stick to the same parameters. I'm looking for a single family home that at least is 1,000 square feet and higher from there. And just look at the traffic, look where there's buyers coming in. And what I like about Redfin, Zillow, and also PropWire is they have a drop button. So this drop button, if you want to go into like specific neighborhoods, let's say I want to go into like this quadrant of neighborhood. How many homes have sold over here? Uh, there's about 264 homes. Let me compare it to this section over here of this all these neighborhoods over here. How many homes have sold in this neighborhood? 97. All right, cool. What about this whole section over here? How many homes have sold over here in this quadrant of Philadelphia? If it decides to load. So I don't think it loaded properly. For some reason, it got stuck. But basically, this is what I like to do. I like to use reverse wholesaling by finding where the seller, where buyers are coming in, either fix and flipping, or sometimes even just wholesaling as well too, or are they buying and holding? Um, and again, it's part of how Redfin sometimes reacts. But that's something that's like a big strategy that I like to do is finding out where the market is. So if you're looking for like your specific market, wherever you are in the US or even in the world, because there are some wholesalers outside of the US as well too, is simply analyzing how the neighborhoods look where there's the most activity. And then so far, I like this neighborhood over here. So now I would just go back to look for properties that recently sold. My parameters are already set 1,000 square feet and higher. So I'm gonna be looking for like properties over here in this quadrant. I can even close it out too. So instead of nothing else to pop up, I can just close it out and then look for properties in that specific area. And I have about 41 homes that are over here, but I know 269 properties sold in the last 6 months alone. So that I can definitely try to definitely find an opportunity over here in this neighborhood, something that I can get away with that needs a definitely good amount of work. Again, sometimes you're gonna come across new construction. So that comes into play, but this is more of a trailer home. What about this one? Not too bad. Looking for something like this. So here we go. Here's another opportunity. 275, 1,400 square foot home. Definitely like the outside, do like a color scheme again. Floors, ceiling, lighting, windows, maybe the windows. Definitely the kitchen and the kitchen floor as well too, bringing new appliances into play. Definitely like the bathroom, again, update that. And it looks like this bathroom has like all the laundry located in there. So I don't know if that's like the master bathroom or like the laundry area. But again, it's putting myself into a position where I'm coming into play as to bring a new color scheme, something new into like the neighborhood. And again, check out the neighborhood. Sometimes you'll come across maybe the neighbors, it's a brand new built home as well too. Maybe somebody else has remodeled their home recently. We are on a double yellow line road, and here's the thing with some double yellow line roads is the the double yellow lines roads you're gonna come it just varies per state where sometimes that's how the roads are designed and just outlined and but it's not a heavy traffic road comparable to like over here White Horse Pike that's gonna be a major road over here whatsoever so the street over here on Newton Avenue this is kind of like the main road for like uh all of these other streets where other homeowners live. So it's just a pathway for that. And again, maybe that's how all the streets are set up over here. Um, that's it's an alley. This looks like just like an X away from here. But that's what I look for. The only thing with this neighborhood now is there's probably gonna be very limited properties because we've come across a railroad as well too. As I was mentioning earlier, I'm gonna be sticking away from those railroads. So railroads is gonna be my borderline when I'm looking for comps. So I'm gonna be duplicating this tab. Look where my property is located. Um, this one's gonna be challenging. I don't know why it used to like pop up like that. It used to like always pop out of the property that you're actually looking into. And then for whatever reason, Redfin changed their, oh, it's right here. Nope, nah, not even there. Right here, here we go. So it's going to be my neighborhood. Again, I'm looking for a recently sold property in the last 6 to 9 months. And again, I listed all the things that it needs. Definitely outside paint, windows. I think they're recently updated. It's really hard to tell because they didn't take pictures of that, but definitely floors. paint, take away these old heaters, try to bring probably like a new water heater into play so that way it heats the whole home properly, lighting. Um, Definitely the kitchen was something major and bathroom as well too. I say bathroom because there's only one picture of one bathroom. They didn't take a picture of the other bathrooms whatsoever. But let me put in all this information back again into the calculator because again, I'm trying to go through uh, a a good property that we can analyze, and we came across a property that is not really good to like analyze because there was nothing in the neighborhood. Um, 275, 1454 square foot home, 1454. I'm paying the repairs. I'm doing a fix and flip on this deal. And again, for this one, same thing. I'm gonna play it safe just because Philly is definitely gonna be expensive. So I'm gonna stick with that 35. I was gonna go with $30 a square foot, but I'm gonna play it safe and go with like that 35 just because I know probably the labor is gonna be probably more expensive from here. I want at least like 15% profit on my deal. So the agent is telling me the property can sell for 406, or if I were to get the property under contract for my possible purchase price of the 192, I need a reseller for $302,000. And the only thing I didn't check is how long has this property been sitting? 110 days. I can definitely get a deal. Next, has the property been under contract? Yes, it has. Look at this. It was listed for $300,000 in October of last year. It's almost gonna hit about 5 months um into it, and they only done $25,000 in price reduction out. But the thing is, when it got on the contract and it got relisted, how much did it get on the contract, and what happened that the contract failed? Is it the most common answer? Oh yeah, the seller's financer fell through, or did did the buyer actually find something about the property and they're not they found something about the property that they didn't want to close on it whatsoever, so they just had to move on from it. And the square footage for this one is 1400. Yeah, 1454, 300, 354. Again, same thing. And these neighborhoods are tough in Philly, man. There's no activity whatsoever at all. Nothing. No, no recently sold in the last 6 months. And so, man, this is just like tough. Is anything really happening over there in Philly? What's going on? We come across some properties over here, but man, it's just nothing whatsoever. So that's why properties are sitting in Philly. It's just there's no there's no comps to sell. Maybe that's why the seller backed away. It's like it's a high risk. It's a high risk property. So now I see why it is. And this is something I didn't check up from the agent is perfect for a home renovation loan. Homes in the neighborhood go for well over $400,000. Well, I don't know what that agent's talking about because even in the last, please tell me, at least in 1 year, something sold in the neighborhood. Um, Nothing. It's not even. There's nothing for sale. That's the worst part. There's nothing for sale in this area besides that property that we're looking at ourselves right now. What's going on with Riffin? Come on, don't act on me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Riffin right now, but man, this is really tough. This is really tough. So we have this other property. This one's selling for 365. So this is in way better condition. Updated bathroom. It has that gray and white color scheme in the kitchen. Fully updated appliances. Better kitchen. As you can see, it's a color scheme. It's like that green and white or gray and white. That's like the most color schemes, but maybe they just did like the green on the bedrooms to make it a little bit different. Man, that's a busy basement right there or garage. But basically, this is why we have to bring like the property. So if this property is smaller, 1320, what's the square footage? 277, and it's been listed for like 10 days. So this is basically the standards that we have to bring in the property. So I'm gonna play with that property whatsoever. So because that property is already fully updated. So as we noticed, it was 365, so it was really close to like the 406. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play with that property that is currently on the market for the last 10 days, but it's in way better condition than this one down here, 275. And again, this is the color scheme of the outside as well too. It's updating like the outside, make it very unique with that bright color blue, especially with the snow. That looks really nice as well too. So that's what we have to do with this same property, and it's literally one block over. So then this one was selling for 277 per square foot. So this is what I'm gonna do is, let's say I come across three comps that the property sold for three comps, and all of them were 277 a square foot. So the average will be 277. So I can resell this property that I'm looking at for 275. I can resell it, or the after repair value will be 402 $800. Again, I'm gonna sum it up. So 402 $800. And the reason it's a little bit more is because it's a bigger home than the other 365 as well too. So that's my ARV. Um, and then from here, it's about understanding buyers. So now we're heading over to like the buyers or the investors. I gotta look for an investor, and I gotta understand how much actually investors will want to will purchase the property for. So let's say I come across a fix and flipper. I can tell them, look, I found this property. The ARV is 402 800. How much are you willing to buy it? I'm actually, if I ended up getting under contract for $192,000, this is an easily $40,000 wholesale fee. But again, I can play greedy. But a lot of properties, maybe the end buyer is going to find out as well too that there's not a lot of comps happening in the area, so it's a high risk investment, and I'll probably have to negotiate that wholesale fee, and I'll probably have to drop from like $40,000 to like maybe $25,000 wholesale fee. But I need to work with the agent and let them know, like, look, I'm willing to take over this property, but I need to buy it for, I'll bring my offer at $180,000. If not, then 185. Then the most I tell them, look, the most I'm willing to take on this property is 192,500. I'm willing to pay the closing fees for both ourselves and your seller. And additionally, because it is listed with an agent, I'll let the agent know, look, I don't have anyone representing me. I'm not sure if you're able to represent me as the buyer, so that way you can get double the commission. Again, it's an incentive to the agent because it's been sitting for 100 days. It's been on the contract, but it got relisted because the end buyer, whatever happened with the end buyer, it just didn't work out. And the property is just sitting there. And maybe the reason it's sitting there is because there's no comps happening whatsoever. But the agent is right that this property can sell for $400,000 after it gets fully updated. Maybe it can sell for more, and that's even more profit to like our investor. But this is what the investor will want to purchase it for. So my goal is to get under contract for 100, most 192. But again, I'm thinking as a fix and flip. If we were to, I would just like the wholesale fee. And that's where my initial offer came in at $180,000, just because I'm already used to doing like a lot of numbers into like wholesaling. Maybe start 178, and again I'll slowly scale up, and I'll scale up to that 192,500 because I know I can find, if I don't find one end buyer buying it for like 231, maybe they're like paying very aggressive. I can find somebody else who maybe they want to buy and hold. And if they want to buy and hold, then hey, by all means, they'll be buying it really close to the asking price that the agent is asking for. Or maybe they'll negotiate with me, and that's what sometimes there's this middle ground I like to go with, and that'll be like a middle ground that I can work with both like the with my end buyer as well too. But I'll mainly like to play it very aggressive on a lot of the deals I'm trying to wholesale, and then mainly think on the fix and flip, because fix and flip is going to take more time, more materials, more labor, and more money to like get it all done all together. And I always like to play the aggressive investor, because I know a lot of, especially with right now how rates are, they're slowly dropping, but prices of homes are going to be slowly scaling up from now. Is this how I will negotiate with the end buyer to get it close? Again, maybe I'll sell it to them for like 220. Let them know like, hey, look, the property is listed for 275. I got on the contract for 190. maybe I can even play it more aggressive and get greedy and be like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for like 250 to try to get a $60,000 wholesale fee. So it really comes down to like that. But I'm putting the reason what the calculator is designed to do is put you in a spot of three different spots. One, put yourself in the spot of thinking that you're buying the property for yourself. Two, putting yourself in the spot of how much you can actually sell once you do like your diligence. And then three, put yourself in the spot of how much your end buyers will do, like, how much will your end buyers buy your property for or your assignment of contract for. Just because again, they're the ones who are going to be taking the risk at the end of the day. And this is what the numbers are. And again, they pay the closing costs. Let them know like, hey, you can at least make between a 45 to like maybe $50,000 on profit off the bat. I can let them know about that. They can make more easily. I can definitely see them making more on this deal, but I have to talk with my end buyers and see how they do the numbers and see where they're aligning. If they're aligning more in the 230, 240, maybe a little bit more because they're playing the long-term game, then by all means, I have to understand that. Or when it comes to like fix and flippers, they have either a percent that they want out of a deal, they want a ROI, I mean, they want a margin percent, they want a ROI percent, or they want a specific dollar amount on the deal. So it really comes down, but I have to ask him those questions, but I let him know that, look, I already did all the hard work and I got the property at a good deal. So I'm trying to give you a good deal as well too. So where can we come into agreement? And if they don't agree with me whatsoever, that's perfectly fine. That's not my end buyer. Maybe I have to look for somebody else. Just because I found one doesn't mean it's one and done. I gotta continue finding backups. Just because again, same thing. My end buyers, I can definitely give me some feedback and they're like, I don't like this deal whatsoever. All right, cool. That's perfectly fine. If I find something else that best fits you, I'll bring it over to you. But yeah, I just gotta find somebody else for this specific deal. So that's the process of looking through like a wholesale analysis. I know it's a lot of information, it's a lot of numbers because real estate is definitely a lot of numbers, and it's gonna get a little bit more challenging because now I'm gonna use the other calculator where we're gonna be using the complete rental calculator. But the complete rental calculator, it's really simple. It's just more understanding where it's literally when it comes to rental properties, it comes down to what the income is, basically how much can the property rent for, what my expenses are, and what the property can cash flow after all those expenses. So it's pretty simple, just like that. But of course, there are a few things that you do have to understand, some lingos that you have to understand, so that way you can know exactly what are we getting into. And what we're getting into when I'm looking into rental properties, I always like to look into like multifamilies. The only thing with these, some agents put in the description how much the property can rent for. Some of them don't, and it's perfectly fine. I have some free resources that you guys can use to find how much the property can rent for. If it's a Section 8 property, or we can go through our most popular platform, Zillow Rent Estimate. That's a great one. Um, Another one is that I like to use is Zumper. Zumper, it's definitely a good one, but I need to get like the area that we're looking into, and also how much the I'm also looking for, excuse me, for the description that it mentions that it has like some rent information in there. So let's see what we're able to find. Is Philly overpriced right now due to inflation? Um, I think it's not only overpriced, but I don't think there's a lot of investors investing into like Philly. That's just what I'm seeing. I've never looked into Philly whatsoever. That's why I like to do these random city spin the wheels, just because I get to understand other neighborhoods, and to me, that's an advantage to me because I'm able to understand the more neighborhoods, I'm able to understand cities, zip codes. It gives me a leverage, just because I'm able to like analyze how one, how much activity is happening. So like I was doing that section of like, let me break down how many homes have sold in the last 6 months in this area, in this area, in this area. I'm analyzing that, and basically that's giving me some feedback. I was like, all right, cool. There's more activity on this side, so let me look for properties over here. While if you look to like into like Philly, I can see properties at 1.5 million, and these are definitely like rentals. But then I come across this one that is 499. So it really, I think Philly, it is definitely like overpriced. And the reason it's overpriced, it's just who probably a lot of sellers are playing the waiting game, or if agents are just not finding anything whatsoever. Um, they're not finding like end buyers whatsoever in over here. So maybe it's just not the market to like invest to at the moment. And again, that's me. I'm in California. California is overly priced every single year, and it's just getting worse and worse. So that's why I like to invest into like more in the Midwest uh cities. But hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, oh, Philly is definitely overpriced. Let me look for what am I looking? Oh, for a rental property. So let's look for a rental property. Oh, I need to do keywords. So that's the other thing too is you can do keywords, keyword search, so that way you're able to find um currently rented. Bam. Uh, keywords help, but there's a good amount of keywords that you can use so that way you can expedite like the process of what kind of properties you're looking for. So let's say for example, this property is a duplex. This is a duplex? Oh, it's just together with the other building. All right, cool. It's a duplex. It does look like it needs some work though. But again, it's a rental property, so we're gonna stick to like the minimum. Um, but then I put the keyword that is currently rented. Let's see. What is it? Second floor is currently rented and has 4 bedrooms. Okay. Showing not required. Don't miss. Okay, cool. It's been sitting for 110 days, but you don't put in how much is it currently getting rented for. I'm looking for numbers, especially with duplex and triplexes. I need to understand Upland, Drexel University, Pencil. Okay, triplex has a great additional building. Is made up of 3 units. So 30 feet, 40-year leases and information are available upon request with the agent. Great. So no information here. Let's look at this one. This one's probably like a 2-1 duplex. Investment, Malcolm X. Okay. The first floor is a 2 bedroom, and there's a 1 bedroom apartment on the first floor. Oh, so it's a 2-1 and a 1-1. Oh, here we go. 1-1 is being rented for 600 plus 20 water. Okay, so 620. And the 2-2 is renting for 810. Bam. That's exactly, this is the kind of agent I love working with. They put it in the description. They know that this property is an investor property that needs to get sold. So they are going to be putting it how much is currently rented for and when the lease is already expiring, which when it comes to July, a lot of people like to move around July, August, September, maybe even October. But and I don't know when it snows over here in Philly or when it starts actually getting cold. So I'm a play a high risk that around July, these tenants will probably want to move out. So that gives me the leverage that I can definitely raise up the rent over here. So I'm gonna use Zillow, and Zillow's going to tell me how much the property can rent for. And I'm gonna split that number in half. So the property can rent for 1220 all the way up to like 1400. So maybe I can go for one of them is already getting rented for like $800. It said, right? 810 plus $40 water. All right, so 850. So I'll do the same thing. 810 on the second one plus $40 of water, or maybe even $30 of water. Because water is also scarce as well too. So I can even raise that up. So now what I'll do with the a rental calculator, I put in the asking price. The seller's asking 239, not bad. My down payment, I'll leave it as 20%. Right now, I can probably get a 7.5. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna stick with the 8% interest rate. I'm gonna play my closing costs. I'm not gonna pay the buyer's closing costs on this because again, I'm trying to minimize my initial capital on the property. And we were looking at a 1-1 and a 2-1. So the 1-1 is currently rented for 600. Oh, and it's a 1 bedroom and is rented for 1.1, and the 2 bedroom, it's a 1 unit renting for 810. Awesome. So what else? What else? Is there garages that I can charge for? There's no garages. There's no extra storage or anything like that that I can charge for. And the property is in really good shape. Awesome. There's no other information into like what else I can bring into it. Both tenants are long-term and on their market. Yeah, I can definitely see that they're on their market. Let me use Sumper. I didn't use Sumper. So with Sumper, the way it works is you type in Sumper, um, and then you type in the city code, and it's gonna tell you right here, houses for rent. But I'm looking for I forgot to type in average. I can't spell. Average rent in Philadelphia. Okay, so I'll go with this one. And I will go with a apartment. So I'm gonna go with how much a 1 bedroom, 1 bath can rent for. Oh man, what the 1,500? Okay, let's go with the home. Let's go with the home. Let's go with the home. The home is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. How much can I rent for 17? So yeah, I could rent it out for like $800. Um, 800, or if once the tenants, if they decide to move or whatever, then I can definitely raise up the rents. The only thing I don't know if Pennsylvania is a landlord friendly state, or what, if there's like a cap on how much we can rent up the raise from here. But so right now we have let me go back to some information. First thing is first, how much the property is selling for, how much I will put in my down payment. If I can put less, because right now Fannie Mae, it's like 5%. So you can but again, your monthly payment is gonna go higher from there. So it really comes down to that as well too. My initial investment is a lot less. I like to go with like at least 20%, honestly. So I'm gonna stick with that. Just I know I'm paying a little bit more in my initial investment, but it's just I'm trying to bring it's a $200 difference. Um, but that's the thing, I'm trying to pay less monthly from it. The properties that are currently rented for is 800 and 600 into July. That's when they're month to month, and that's when I can rent like the rent from here. Where I can bring it to like 800 for like that 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And this one's already like $800. Maybe I can raise it up as well too. Who knows? But that's not until July. So right now I have to play or what the currently rent is, which is 1410 on the monthly. My gross income on the property for the rent is $16,920 for the entire year. Now, here come my expenses. I can break down my expenses one by one: taxes, insurance, HOA, maintenance, vacancy, management. Or I'm gonna play it safe with my rule is stick to like 40%. If you're an investor, try investing outside of your area, stick to like 40%. If you're managing the property yourself in your area, then 30% is always best. The reason why is 10% is going to be having a property management manage the property for you. And then the rest, it's just, again, if you want to manage it yourself, just go with 30%. So it's really up to you on how what kind of properties and where you're looking for. So I'm gonna stick to my 40% in expenses, or again, I could break it down so I know the exact number, but I'm gonna go with my regular strategy of 40%. So my expenses are $6,700 a month. Sorry, $6,700 for the entire year. So my net operating income for the entire year is $10,000. So now we're going to be looking for a few analysis key formats. One is cap rate. The way cap rate works is usually it goes by how much income or your net operating income is comparable to the property's price. The lower the number, the riskier it is. The higher the number, the safer the investment is. I don't know what the market for Philadelphia's cap rate is. You can literally go on Google, type in your city's average cap rate for single family, duplex, triplex, quads, whatever it is that you're looking for, and you're able to it's going to give you the information of how much the average investors are buying properties for at the cap rate. I don't know for this market area whatsoever. It's pretty low already itself. So my strategy is I want to get the property to the highest cap rate as possible. I'm gonna aim for 8 to like 10 or even higher from there, just because that's still I need to make sure that my investment is safe. And so far, this investment is not going so well because I'm already losing money. I'm gonna be losing $6,000 every single year on the cash flow. The reason why is because of my debt service, or AKA mortgage. So we will go back to earlier. My monthly payment is not included on my expenses. My expenses, again, are those that I was mentioning: taxes, insurance, HOA, maintenance, vacancy, and management, but not my mortgage. My mortgage is something different, as we like to call it, debt service, or uh, sorry, it's debt service, but debt service is your mortgage. So my mortgage is going to be around $16,000, $16,835 every single year. So I have to deduct that debt service from my net operating income, and this property is just not cash flowing. Again, I'm negative $6,000. So buying it at $239,000 for this investment is not a great opportunity whatsoever. So then now I'm gonna come down here and then seeing, what if I'm able to get the property. Again, I have to analyze, I have to figure out what the cap rate is in Philadelphia already. But if the numbers already tell me it's already negative, I can play the depreciation game and make it a tax write-off. But I want to make sure I'm looking for an investment that cash flows, because there's already tenants in place into July. That's when their leases expire. Two, I'm look not only it cash flows, but I want to make sure that it picks up in value as well too. How long is it take to pick up in value? Is there something wrong with Philly that the properties appreciate very slow, or are just things overly priced right now that it's just whenever I want to sell it, it's going to take a long time for me to sell. So those are little things that I do have to analyze. But that's what I need to play it safe for my cap rate. The higher the cap rate, the lower the property I'm buying it for at the price. So this will be my price that I need to purchase the property at a 10% cap rate. Now, if I go back and put it in that same number into the asking price, what was it, 101,500. So let's say I get it for $101,500 on the contract. My monthly payment significantly dropped from there. It is half off from what it's actually happening, from the 239 what the sellers and the agent is asking. But in all reality, the property is just not cash flowing a lot, and I'm losing around $6,000 every single year. But now if I'm able to get it at a 10% cap rate. Now my cap rate is higher. Great. The property is cash flowing, so it's cash flowing around $3,000 a year. My mortgage or debt service dropped like a little bit, and my break-even monthly investment, it dropped as well too. So maybe again, they're most likely not gonna take 10% cap rate. That's just way too crazy. So I gotta see where, again, I'm estimating between 8 to like 10%. And the reason why I'm aiming for that is I always want to estimate higher than what the current rates are at. So if the current interest rates are close to like 7%, 7.5%, 8%, I want to make sure that I'm above that, because again, if I'm playing, I'm basically breaking even if I'm close to that. But I also have to consider if I'm able to get it on the contract for that asking price or that purchase price whatsoever. But again, I want to just triple check my numbers and then see if maybe at 126,000. I'm not even gonna go with 26,900. I'm gonna go 126,000. Does my property at least cash flow something? And it does. It even at $126,000, the property can still cash flow. So that's still at $100,000 difference on the asking price, but that's the realistic truth, where I'm looking for a property that it's a great investment, that it cash flows. It's in great conditioning whatsoever. It looks like they did some work as well too. So I know for sure the seller is going to have some financial interest, and what financial interest basically means is they already invested into the property to update it, even just the outside, as well too. Like if I were to compare this home to the neighbor homes, then by all means, it's telling me that the seller took time to update like the home to the best that they could, to make it kind of unique in the neighborhood. Because all the other homes, look a little bit outdated. And here's the thing as well too. What I like about this, if there's already any investor into this area, why not reach to the neighbor sellers, homeowners or investors as well too? So I'll definitely want to reach to this investor, see if they want to sell. Maybe they're tired landlords and they might be interested in selling. Same thing with this neighbor, same thing with this one, and then so on forth. Just because a lot of these homes definitely look a little bit outdated, so I want to make sure that I match it up to what this property is selling for. Because the minute this home sells, then and it sells for a high price or like a good price, then same thing is gonna happen with these investors. They're gonna want to sell. And what I want to do is I want to play the early game or the early bird game. And I want to reach out to them in advance before this home sells. Because again, the minute this home sells, a lot of other investors are gonna want to sell, or they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna update their properties and they're gonna want to get a higher price for them. But again, I'm trying to buy at a low, try to at a low price, and then try to make sure that I'm buying an investment that cash flows. And that's what I can do with these properties. And maybe I can have either myself or I can partner with somebody else, or we can update it. We can rent up, bring the rents up way higher, or even just fix and flip the property itself. So this is something that I love to do at all times. Every single time looking at a property, I always like to look at Street Viewer, because again, if there's other investors into the area, then I like to check out the neighborhoods and let's see if I can find another property or find the neighbor's property, and then seeing if they might be interested on selling their property as well too. So I don't like to miss an opportunity. And I can already see for definitely, and it's happening in the past, where as soon as one property sells, somebody else always wants to sell just because it's sold at a high price. It's just common human reaction. It happens all the time. I've seen it a few times with real estate in just the last 9 months of my experience. But that's the thing is, I've seen it happen, and if it can happen, it will happen. And again, I want to put myself into that spot where I get early dips, or just start early negotiating from there. But that's the rental calculator in its play, where again it comes to negotiating, finding the seller's motivation, work with the agent, because it is a property that is listed with an agent. But that'll be again, my highest price will be that $126,000. I'm gonna start it low at $100,000. And the reason why is because I understand the property is under rented at the moment, but it's just not cash flowing. I'm not trying to play that game. I want to make sure I'm investing to something that can cash flow from day one. And then maybe I need to do like extra work into it, or just play the patience game. And who knows how long it's going to take for me to break even, but it's just part of the game whatsoever. And then the highest, I'll bring my highest offer. Again, it'll be that $126,900 into it, because at least I'm able cash flow at least $200 into like the investment for like this specific property. So higher cap rate, safer to play with. And again, at least it cash flows something into it. If the cap rate is higher than usual, does that help? Does that help your cash flow and add more value to your investment over time? Um, oh, sorry. If the cap rate is higher than, oh, sorry. I don't know why that question mark. If the cap rate is higher than usual, is that if or is the cap rate higher than usual? I don't know that section, but let me go to section number 2. Does that help with the cash flow? So yeah, so higher cap rate helps with the cash flow, because again, higher cap rate, lower price. Lower cap rate, higher price. So, and then again, lower cap rate is risk. It's a riskier investment. So over here in Long Beach, California, the average cap rate on multifamily investments is around 5%. And again, the rates right now are crazy, crazy, crazy. It's still high. So, but the minute the rates start dropping, then that's when the properties are going to pick up in value. So yeah, a higher cap rate is always the best investment. I always like to play it safe. Again, a lot of the investments that I've come across for when I'm analyzing is, or even other investors' feedback that I've networked with, it's always getting the higher cap rate. It's usually recommended to get 8, 10, and higher from there. So you always want to play based on the interest rates and add more value to investment. Yeah, and so it just adds the cap rates again. The way you want to strategize it, if you're thinking long term, I mean, if you're thinking long term for the investment, at least you want to play like 10, 15 years. And then around 10, 15 years, you can do a 1031 exchange. So that way you can buy, if you buy, for example, we buy this property at $200,000 or $126,000. Then we want to do a 1031 exchange where we're able to use the $126,000 and basically buy, and that's going to be like a down payment. I'll tell you to what kind of size of a property. So if you're able to sell the property for $126,000 and we divide it by 20%, that'll be my down payment for another for a 1031 exchange. It's like this: 126 divided by 20%. That'll be like 126,000 is my 20% down payment for a property that is worth $630,000. So now 10, 15 years when I bought this property, 1031 exchange in 10, 15 years, and now I'm able to use whatever I sold that property for, use it for as a down payment for a higher investment. And this is a common strategy for a lot of investors where they play the same thing. 10, 20 years from this $630,000, they buy something else, 1031 exchange, and then now you went from a $600,000 property to a $3.1 million investment. And that's how you're able to do it. And you're able to repeat it. And of course, the more properties you have, the better it will be. But it is playing like a patience game. But again, it's always best to get it at the lowest price possible. If it's a single family or if it's a rental, try to get it at the highest cap rate possible. You're doing a great job explaining your wholesaling mindset. Well, again, I know wholesaling, it's a business, but it's wholesaling is not possible if there's no end buyers. If there's no fix and flippers, there's no wholesaling to be able to do so. And then if there's no buy and hold investors, then there's no wholesaling either. So wholesaling is not possible if there's no other type of strategies. So wholesaling is just one of many strategies available. And honestly, wholesaling, I kind of like to leave it kind of like on the shadows, kind of like my back, my wallet in my back. I don't want to pull out my wallet right away. I want to reserve it. So I want to make sure that I'm able to understand what it is that I'm getting into. So I got to think as an investor. So I always like to put myself into investors' strategies first. What's the most common most common strategy, or what's the most common volume of activity, and then from there wholesaling is a possibility. So now there's a great amount of strategies out there that you can do, but yeah, it's just wholesaling. It's just one of many things, but I like to put myself first as an actual end buyer and then figure out if I were to buy this for myself, where would I actually want to buy it for? How much how much did I need to actually invest into it? Am I going to get a return? Do I have to play the long-term game? It's just how much is it going to take to repair? So I always like to put myself into that spot. So when I network, I actually learn from investors how they do things. And then from there, if opportunity presents itself, then I can wholesale it to them, just so I can make the easy money and use that easy money to invest it into like my own portfolio, which is what I'm getting into now. So thanks to them, thanks to those type of buyers, buy and hold or fix and flippers, I got into that game of like wholesaling just because I spend the time learning from them. 1031 is exchange for avoiding cap, and also yeah, even that as well too. But it even helps it out. The major one that I like, besides taxes, because that's the other thing about wholesaling is you're paying a great amount of taxes, is buying your own investments. Again, putting yourself into that buyer's section, into the buyer side where you have to start thinking for like your own. And then from there, pay less taxes. So wholesaling does have high taxes as well too. So that's why you have to like transition to like a different strategy. And that's why 1031, buying and holding, fixing and flipping, even fixing and flipping is expensive as well too. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it for like the entire series. Again, if you guys want to get like the calculators, head over to eltonvargas.com /calculators and get the calculators before the 31st. So the deal ends, again, you can get it complete for free, and also the upcoming one, which is the seller finance one that I'm currently working on how to even negotiate a seller finance. I break it down on there as well too. The last day is on Wednesday, the 31st. So make sure you guys get the calculators, so that way you don't have to pay a subscription for it, or you have to pay anything for it, because after the 31st, it will be a paid subscription for the whole series and moving on forward from there. But I'm gonna leave it open for any questions. I will cut it short on the questions, just because I do have a meetup. I'm actually attending a network event in about 45 minutes, but I'm gonna leave it open for some Q&A. If you guys have any questions, you're able to unmute yourselves as well too. So whatever you do want to ask now or forever hold your peace. No questions? Nothing? All right, then that's gonna be a wrap. Remember, the videos do get recorded, so they will be available also on my website, eltonvargas.com/education. All the previous Zooms are in there as well too, of other examples, other questions that somebody else has asked. And again, just thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'm able to give you guys enough value to become either a wholesaler or a possible future investor. If you're an investor, maybe just learning from somebody else as well too. But thank you for joining. And again, I'll hope to have you guys on the next meetup on Wednesday at regular time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right. So thank you guys. You have a blessed night and happy Monday.